Renault shares are tumbling. Carlos Ghosn is facing the removal from Nissan. According to one newspaper, he's now been arrested. So let's get plenty more on that through our deputy editor who's in Japan. He is Gearoid. Gearoid, thank you so much for joining us. Now, we've been coming to you every day, Gearoid Reidy, to see exactly what the implications of this is. First of all, just to recap, what do we know? Where do we think Carlos Ghosn is right now?
He is not in a very good place right now, from what it seems. Initially, these reports broke very late in the day here in Japan. Nissan was very quick, relatively speaking, to come out with a confirmation of what was going on. What we know now is that it's been reported that he has indeed been arrested. Nissan has come out. Nissan is obviously not in a position to say exactly where he is in the legal standing, but they have said that they are going to seek to dismiss him from the board for serious misconduct and serious breaches over a number of years, which includes underreporting his income and also personal use of company assets and possibly company funds as well. So Carlos Ghosn not in a fantastic position right now.
Gearoid, do you think that he'll be removed as chairman?
Unquestionably. I think it's just a procedural thing right now. Just probably what they need is for the board to convene and to make that official. There's no way that a board could stand for these allegations that they've uncovered.
Gearoid, not only have you been with our Tokyo bureau for a good 7, 8, 9 years, but also you've been a student of Japanese culture going back to your time at Sheffield. Where does Mr. Ghosn fit into Japanese culture? I mean, there's book A, there's book B. There's a comic book of his celebrity. Discuss his celebrity as compared to other business executives.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. It is extraordinary in that over an extremely long period of time, he has been one of the most high-profile executives in the country. Came in initially, obviously, when Nissan was doing very poorly. Is universally and I think fairly regarded as the man who saved Nissan, who pulled Nissan out of the spiral that they were in. So for this to happen to someone who's such high profile, one of the most Japanese executives are not they're not household names. They're not flashy. They're not well known. They try to keep things under the surface. Ghosn is someone that everybody would know, and until now had a pretty much an unblemished record. So in that respect, it's absolutely extraordinary.
He was on top of the business world 12, 13, 14 years. Has this descent been sudden? Or did people like you that grind out business coverage every day, did you see this coming?
I have to say, personally, I did not see it coming in the slightest. There were some reports last year that I won't go into for legal reasons earlier in the year, some reports in weekly magazines about some of his conduct, but that didn't turn out to be anything of consequence. But until this was happening, we were sitting around waiting for him to come out with his grand vision for the Renault-Nissan alliance, which was going to be something extraordinary and something only he had the power to push through.
Gearoid, for our global audience, please explain this odd alliance. Mr. Ghosn covering Nissan, he gives up the CEO office there, but he remains really dominant at Renault. We see the stock plunging today. Explain this odd Nissan, Renault and Mitsubishi alliance.
Well, basically, it's the hodgepodge that has resulted over the course of a number of years. Obviously, Renault coming in many years ago to be, essentially the company that rescued Nissan, and that's where Ghosn made his name. He had made his name, obviously, at Nissan before, but I think on the international stage, he made his name at Nissan and turning around. I think that the first time that a foreign executive came in really and turned around a huge, blue chip household name company like this. Now what we have here is this alliance between a strategic asset for the Japanese government, another strategic asset for the French government, which is Renault, and then also Mitsubishi Motors, which is basically sort of tagged on, which Nissan essentially picked up on the cheap a couple of years ago when Mitsubishi Motors had their own scandal. And I don't think anyone's terribly satisfied right now with the conclusion of where these companies lie, which is why Ghosn seemed to be working on this restructuring of the alliance. And it was going to be something that was going to take someone like him to do in order to push through the opposition from the Japanese and French governments, which don't, they're not interested in, let's say, a merger between the two companies or giving up control to one entity or the other. What ramifications today's news have for that, I think, will remain to be seen.
Yeah, we had a pretty lengthy conversation with Mr. Ghosn about 5 weeks ago on Leaders, where we talked actually about the possible alliance, merging further together, actually becoming a proper M&A consolidation story. We did, Gearoid, try to speak to the French government, and they seem to have been taken by surprise by Carlos Ghosn's arrest. Where does this leave the alliance? Does it mean that actually it will break away? He was known as a turnaround man. I think in France he was known as le cost killer. So what does it mean for the various entities right now?
I would say I should say I'm not an autos expert, but I would say for the meantime is that all of the plans that have been going forward in terms of the restructuring of the alliance are going to be put on hold for some period of time. Obviously we don't quite know. He wasn't very forthcoming on what his plans were in terms of like how they were actually going to reform the capital structure. He seemed to be playing that pretty close to his chest. I would say it'll take a brave executive who follows him to want to pick up and run with the same script that he maybe had already written partway through.